Hello everyone, this is Connor Smith, President of Model United Nations at Mountain View High School, and I will be going into the pre-resolution process. Now, before we actually get into what resolutions are and how to write them, I wanted to first highlight how we get there. We just got done talking in the last video about, making the initial motions at the beginning of the conference, setting limits, changing the agenda, and getting into a lot of debate and discussion. Well, now the question is, where does all of that debate go? Why we can't just speak back and forth forever throughout the entire conference, and of course, lots of more motions to be made if you take a look at the short form of the rules. And so, in order to get there, I'm first going to be reviewing caucuses. What a caucus is, if you've never heard the term before, is basically kind of like a meeting of the delegates. And there are two types of caucuses at the conference that are both initiated in the form of a motion. The first type is the moderated caucus, and looking back at our short form of the rules, we can see that it does require a second. There are two speakers that can speak for, two that can speak against, and it requires a majority vote. If you look real quick at the description, it's a representative may motion to suspend to the rules of formal debate. Speakers will be delegated by the chair for a specific amount of time made during the motion. Okay. What this basically means is, the best way I can describe it is sort of a popcorn quick speech. So each delegate will raise their placard if they want to speak during a moderated caucus. The chair will just call on them, they stand up, give a very short little blurb about something related to the subject, sit back down. Next country, up, speak, sit down. Next country, up, speak, sit down. They aren't really speeches, they do not have points of inquiry. They're just a great way to get your opinion out. And if you haven't actually given a speech yet at this point, a moderated caucus provides a great opportunity for you to speak in a more relaxed setting where everyone's just kind of like saying what they believe. And in this sense, you can kind of also go off of what other people say, though you cannot actually reply to them. The discussion tends to go in the direction of what people are saying. You may, of course, talk multiple times. These can last for quite a while. For example, a motion that would set moderated caucus would sound like Botswana moves for a 10-minute moderated caucus, and that says causes, I apologize. Moderated caucus, which would mean the total whole thing is 10 minutes with 30 seconds of speaking time, which means each individual delegate representing the country would only speak for 30 seconds, and normally these will not last much longer than that because it's intended to be quick. However, the most important type of caucus is the next one, the unmoderated caucus, which is technically called the suspension of the meeting. If, once again, you look back at your short form of the rules, it's up here, suspension of the meeting. This one does require a second, but it is not debatable, so there is no pro or con, and then there is a majority vote. What this basically does is it suspends all formal debate. Everyone will be able to stand up, talk freely to each other. There are no rules. You do not even necessarily have to stay in a character, but of course you are encouraged to do so since you would be representing your country at an actual Model United Nations conference. However, once again, you are free to do whatever you want. You are free to merge with other delegates, kind of find your allies, discuss the topic at hand, get with other people, and it is completely informal, and it is considered a break of sorts. Delegates are allowed to leave their seats, converse with others, talk freely, and act without motions or speeches. But however, most importantly, this is the time when delegates get to write resolutions. For example, the way this would come about would say, Botswana moves for a 10-minute suspension of the meeting, and that's all you have to say. That would make the entire room go on break if it's voted for in a majority vote, and then everyone kind of goes around and does what they need to do, hopefully related to the subject at hand. Since resolutions take so long to write, which once again we'll get into later, these will often be extended due to a shortage of time toward the end of the caucus. Simply all you have to do is go up to the chair and say Botswana moves to extend the suspension of the meeting for another 10 minutes. We'll vote on that real quick. Usually delegates will agree with an extension. I mean, after all, it's a break and there's a bunch of kids in the room that want extra time. That works perfectly. Sometimes everyone will convene, maybe have a few more speeches and discussion, then break into another either moderated caucus or unmoderated caucus. And so this is just kind of how you get into the resolution process. It's a very short and sweet guide to get there. The way that caucuses would come about, as we mentioned before every discussion or chance for speeches are given, the chair will say, are there any motions at this time? If there are none, we will say, is there a speaker wishing to take the floor? In which case an interested delegate will raise their placard, come up, and give their speech. However, as previously mentioned, all motions will precede discussion. So after some debate has gone around, a few speeches have been given, speakers have come up, perhaps a delegate will want to move for a moderated caucus just to get everyone's opinion out. Then say we go back to debate, have some more debate, more people talking at length with more questions, then suddenly it's time to write a resolution, or you want to go find your allies and know who you're supposed to be with right now and who really agrees with you on kind of an informal basis. You would motion, or you would move for an unmoderated caucus, or technically move for a suspension of the meeting, and then you would all get together and do that. And that is also when you would begin to write your resolutions in groups or with whoever agrees with you. So I hope that cleared up kind of how you tie from debate into the resolution process, and in the next video I will be showing how to actually write these resolutions that you will then consider, vote on, and hopefully succeed at the conference, because resolutions are the ultimate point of the conference. So thank you once again for watching this video. I hope it helped. As I always say, make sure you try to get to the Wednesday workshops, and make sure you go to the Tuesday II workshops for Model United Nations every single Tuesday in II. They're extremely helpful, great chance to practice. So I hope to see you in the future showing interest in Model United Nations, because it really is a fun activity. You get to socialize with a lot of other kids, as you're seeing here. It can be really informal and it can be formal, but it's still fairly relaxed. So you'll have a great time, and I hope you agree with me in the future. Thank you for watching.